Hello there, I'm Joe Ruggiero, and welcome to my podcast, Inspired, and the People Who Inspire Me. I'm speaking this morning with Mary Apick. She's an actor, writer, director, and producer, and has won numerous international awards for her work in films and theater. She was the recipient of the Best Actress Award from Moscow International Film Festival in 1977 for the movie Dead End. Mary continues to produce and direct theater and film, and Mary's Critics' Choice play, Beneath the Veil, which she wrote and directed, has been presented at Lincoln Center in New York, the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., the Geffen Playhouse in Los Angeles, and many other world-class venues. I'm going to be talking to her about many things this morning, but among them, a film that she recently wrote, produced, and directed, an animated film called The Cat, which was an Academy Award contender and won more than 27 festival awards, including in Toronto, Berlin, and Cannes. She was awarded the 2023 Maverick Award by Los Angeles Women Theater Festival, which was awarded to Lily Tomlin the previous year. Mary's recent documentary feature film, Jewel of the Desert, was the recipient of 10 Best Documentary Awards internationally. Mary uses the theater, stage, and cinema to give voice to the voiceless. I love that line. Mary, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about your early career, because your mother was a famous film star in Iran. And you used to watch her and observe very closely. Tell us a little bit about your youth.
As long as I remember, I have been on the theater stage between the wings watching my mom. And she, for her time in 1960s, she was a superstar back in a day in Iran. And at that particular time, freedom, Iranian people, it was a different golden era.
Yeah.
And under the King Shah of Iran. So the advance in theater, cinema, technology, in all areas was a lot. And we didn't even think about religion, we didn't think about the matters that was completely outrageous because it was a wonderful society under his rule. So, and I was a child, so I didn't know anything better, that I watched my mom, and I had talent. She was the queen. The things she wore, the way she presented herself, her grace, and what she had on cinema, I can actually, I can say like the Marilyn Monroe feel, because she was a symbol all around the world. So my mom followed through, with this type of outfits and everything that she chose to wear. In fact, there's one photograph, which it's a historic photograph in 1960s that my mom has, which for the first time and the last time, the King of Iran did a premiere in a theater that she was starring in that movie.
Right. And her name was not Mary, but Apick was her first name.
Her first name is Apick Yousefian, and Yousefian is her last name.
Yes.
Yousefian is her last name. And so it's an Armenian background in Iran, and we were sort of minorities in Iran. However, nobody even talked about it because it was such a stable, wonderful society.
Right.
Nobody cared whose religion was what, and who was Muslim, who was Christian, who was Jewish, who was that wasn't a matter at that time. So she was a big star, and I watched her, and of course she was in the limelight, and I always thought I want to be like my mom.
And
naturally.
Did she encourage you?
Actually, I went to French school initially, French Catholic school, as to Mariam, it was called, for 4 years, which I studied French, English, Armenian, Farsi, and all that. And then after that, I went to the same school she graduated from, which was a Conservatory of Music. And in there, not to just study all music and all aspects of music, from composition, writing, solfeggio, harmony, and all that, my subject was piano and ballet and classical piano, because we had another school that was like more authentic instruments and all that. So my studies was in music, was in ballet, and I was sort of good in ballet, so my mom wanted me to be a ballerina. At that time, which if you speak about it today, they would say, what ballerina? People cannot even walk on the street safely, you know. So, which was completely shut down, that whole company after the revolution in 1979. So I was with the National Ballet of Iran from age 12 to 18. And we did all the international ballets like Sylphides and Nutcracker and Swan Lake and you name it, I've been on stage with. And so that was a basic training, which I think is very important for any girl or child to have that training.
Absolutely.
Because music is a huge, wonderful world, and it just puts you in a different level and different perspective of watching life.
Oh, yes.
So, and then in the meantime, when I was 12, just by accident, because my mom was everywhere she went, I was with her. So just by accident, I was at the studio. She was recording, and she was leading in a comedic series.
Right.
And the director came and said that, well, one of the actors didn't show up. So either we have to leave and, reschedule this, or we have to, just somehow cancel, or we can't continue. And the director, I remember to this day, and I'm like maybe 4 feet tall, and then turned around to me and said to my mom, is there any way that for the opening act, Mary can say these few lines? I mean, when he said that, I thought I was on cloud 9.
A Star is Born.
Yeah, and my mom said, absolutely not, because I want my daughter to be a ballerina. I don't want to distract her. She's focused on that. And now I'm like, my heart was going 100 miles.
Right, exactly.
And I wanted it so much. So then the director said, let's just stop the show and leave. And then my mom turned around to me and looked at me, and I had teary eyes. And so she goes, one time, Mary, only one time.
And the rest is history.
And the rest is history, because after that, they kept me on the show, and one show to the next, and satiric shows, serious shows, and motion picture and theater, it just followed.
Well, let's talk about some of the accomplishments that you have actually produced and written, one of which is Beneath the Veil, which is very appropriate today. Tell us the story.
Beneath the Veil, since the revolution happened in Iran, well, I was here actually when this turned over. I came to the United States for a very short period of time, and Iran turned around, and my mom called me and said, don't come back.
Right.
Not now. Let's see what happens. So this let's see what happens became 47 years of my life,
wow,
which is majority of, And so I saw everything in Iran. I heard everything in Iran. I knew this was something that we were not familiar with nor experienced, such a horrible situation of the entry of Khomeini to that country and changing all. And particularly being part of the minority because of the Muslim community, and he had a lot of influence, and he was talking about it all the time. It was a decision to leave the country or stay there for my parents, for my mom, for family and all that, especially that Armenians, they have experienced the Armenian genocide of 1915
exactly
by the Ottoman Empire. So we've been all over the place, all over Middle East. And so in the Middle East, there are like in Lebanon, in Syria, all over there are Armenian communities. They have their churches, they have their society and all that. But the point is that fear existed. So my mom decided that I should stay here, and I did stay here. And basically, I started from zero, because no one knew me here, and nor from my background or anything. And I was just an average, ordinary citizen, and I had to work my way up after being a star in Iran.
Right.
So that's the whole education and learning and journey that I started with literally zero.
And you produced this play.
Yes, because I was
documents women under the veil.
Yeah, this was
Or
years
beneath the
later.
veil.
Precisely, Joe. You know, it's like I had all these stories that I would hear, and anything that it was being published in LA Times or anywhere else, New York or Washington Post or whatever, I would cut the clips and I would keep it. The actual physical stories that happened to women all
Right.
around Iran and in the Middle East at that time. Because Iran was very influential about women's position.
Right.
It's a large country with unbelievable natural resources and power and money and oil and uranium and just countless.
How many stories do you cover in the play?
I studied about almost like 80 stories here and there and through the years. And in 2005, I decided that I would focus on 10 story. And these 10 stories were very important to me. And I thought I have to communicate this with the world. And I picked the stories and put them together from a point of view of an American writer, who's writing an article about Middle Eastern women. And she can't finish it because it's so horrific.
Right.
And so that story begins with an American journalist.
And you played one of the women.
I played two roles.
Oh,
each
two.
of us, we played two different roles. And the man we had one gentleman, amazing actor, and he played 10 roles against this woman, the opposite. So he was a good guy, he was a bad guy, he was a torturer, he was a doctor. So he constantly changed through the scenes that I wrote regarding this matter of women's position, women being stoned to death. And because of my ballet background, I created a visual with ballet and lighting and all that and then authentic live musicians were sitting on stage as well, which I wrote the music for.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was just a whole balletic, musical, and high expression of the women's position in Iran. It got the Critics' Choice Award from the theater.
When it was produced at the Lincoln or at the Washington Center, the Queen was present in the audience.
Yes,
right?
we had two of our presentations at the Kennedy Center. Her Majesty Farah Pahlavi, the Queen of Iran, was there. She's a big supporter of women, and she's a good friend of mine. And so she was there, and many other politicians, including the very first Kennedy Center, our chair was Mrs. Laura Bush. So at that time, she was very much involved with the Afghani women.
Absolutely.
And an organization called Ashiane, which means sanctuary in Farsi, in Afghani. And she was the head of it. And I met her actually in one of those meetings, and she placed interest to be there and help me out at the Kennedy Center for the first performance.
Do you think it will be represented now with all that's happening in Iran?
I mean, absolutely can. For the 9 months past, I've been very much involved with my mother since she had some medical needs. And so I have been distracted a little bit on that. But it's a perfect timing, actually, for it to be staged again beneath the veil. And also, I have recorded the very last production of it at the Alex Theater in Glendale.
Oh, great.
And so I have like 10 cameras that I haven't had a chance to edit yet, but that has to be done.
Do you ever sleep?
My mom actually trained me this way. My mother, from ballet to piano to the theater to the studios and all that. So I've just learned all that.
Let's talk about the cat.
Because
I had the privilege of viewing it. And I guess, symbolic nature of it. There were women that were mass-produced and then shipped. You kind of lost me there. But what does that represent? Tell me about the cat.
Tell you about the cat. The cat, when the COVID happened, the few years of COVID, I was thinking about making a movie about women in the Middle East. And then I realized in COVID it's very difficult because of the situation existed. So I decided, how about animation? I've never done animation. And how about using that format? And then I decided I won't do it in a 3D format. I'll do it in a 2D format, which is more political, different feel of presentation. And then I decided I'm going to do it in black and white. And then I decided that it must not have a word in it, nothing. The picture has to present itself. So there's no dialogue, if you notice,
Right.
in this film. And the cat is the shape of the map of Iran.
Ah,
Because we always refer to the cat, 2 ears up north, and it has a tail and comes to the down to south where the oil is and all the resources are there. So the story is a story of a little girl who sells flowers on the streets of Tehran. And we show the monument of Tehran in the beginning, that it just indicates that's Tehran. And she's trying to sell flour to this character that we don't know whether it's a man or a woman or that. And as soon as she presents the flour diminishes.
Right.
And so she starts running because she gets scared. And this particular character becomes this black tar, huge black tar, following her to swallow her. And as she's running away, we see the whole course of Iranian Revolution all the way to the end. The war that she's running about, prostitution.
Oh,
the women that you saw, that because there's a huge level of trafficking and prostitution from Iran to Dubai to all different countries by young women. And that's why I presented it with naked women,
Right.
just a little red lipstick. They're boxing them and stamping them, and it goes through the factory
Right.
and gets all piled up in a. It's symbolic. But the people who have really followed the history of the past 47 years in Iran, they get it. And there's a factory area that all our symbols from Persepolis are being shipped away. Everything is being ripped away from Iran. And there's grave sites that the parents are, crying and yelling, and she's running, and this black tar is swallowing all this and coming forward.
Right.
Till she gets trapped in a position that there's this huge wall. She listens, and there's birds and beauty outside,
Right.
and she gives in.
So
and
it
at
has
that
a happy,
moment is that she gets all the strength to fight back.
Right, and it has a happy ending.
Yeah, it's sort of a happy ending, because then when the wall comes down, she enters the beauty of the ocean, the fish, the beauty, and that little fish that was circling in the little pond that she had initially, and she was happy before this tar came in. Goes into the ocean, and we don't know which direction is she going, but she's free.
Right.
So that's the message, and it took me 2 years to make that.
Wow.
13 minutes.
Yeah.
So I encourage anybody who has interest in the matters of the politics or artist expression of how we express ourselves. It's on YouTube.
Right.
They can watch it under the cat Mary Apick, because if they just go to the cat, there are millions of cat stories.
Right, exactly.
So it's a very important picture to me, and it won 27 International Best Animation Award, and it was an Oscar Academy Award contender as well.
Also, a very interesting story with your Jewel of the Desert. And tell me a little about that, because it's fascinating that you use this child and how she befriends these musicians.
Well, she came later to the storyline, because I was in a church in City of Surprise in Arizona, which just the name Surprise, it's like a surprise. Who lives in Surprise? Just like when I heard about it, I was thinking, wow, that's an interesting name.
Right.
And so I was in a church, and I saw these 38 members of a desert brass band. And they announced that they're all between the ages of 70 and 92. And each of them come from a different walk of life. One was an attorney, one was a doctor, one was an Air Force colonel, many. But at some point in life, they have played an instrument.
Right.
And in school, and some of them actually, they're professional musicians. But most of them, they come from that type of a background. The love for music, they got together from 10 people, they became 38. So, and they started playing in churches and synagogues and all over, community centers and all, different types of music, from classical, from rock, from Eddie Mercury, you name it. People
Wow.
that is just unbelievable. So I was blown away, particularly for the age, and a wind instrument, which is very hard to play at that
Right.
age. So I approached and I said, you know what, this is something I'm interested in. I don't know where I'm going with it, but I'd like to present it. I think it's inspiring to see everybody, to see you guys,
Right.
because they're doing such a great job. And so Charlie Musgrave was the head and maestro, and Bill Fedor was the founder. So I talked to them, and we created this whole time zone, which I had to follow them because it was their schedule. And then I tried to do all the interviews, and in the midst of all that, I said, I want a little girl. And they said one of the musicians has a granddaughter, and so Abigail. And I said, I would like to meet her. So when Abigail came to the picture, I decided the best way of connecting a 5-year-old little girl who loves music. So none of them knew what I was doing, how I was directing and going forward with this. But I centralized Abigail, that how music can influence just about anything in the world. It takes you to a different zone in life that it's wonderful to put these two together. So a 90-year-old conductor at the time,
wow,
and a 5-year-old, and together this combination of how much she wants to be a conductor. So this became the main storyline, and I developed it that way with some interviews. And of course, it took me 2 years because I was taking my crew all the way on the road for 6-7 hours to get to Surprise, to get settled, to do some some of them it was their own productions that I followed through, and some of them I actually established it in a hall, and I recorded them and interviewed them and chose them. But edit took a long time because I had to watch a lot of footage and then choose what I wanted through the storyline. It's a very inspirational piece, and it was my first experience in a documentary, and it was received very well. So I'm very happy that I made that. I'm really proud of this project.
Now, this can be seen on YouTube as well?
No, not now. We are actually we're going on a platform pretty soon. There's a distribution company that is involved, and Magenta, and we're working with them. And also, I actually present it here and there. I mean, it's been in festivals. It has received a lot of recognition in festivals, and there's some private screenings that I do right now, and so if anybody was interested, but nothing. The only thing is on YouTube is the trailer, 2.5 minutes trailer, and also we have a website, which is Jewel of the Desert Films with an S,
okay,
.com. And they can see all the background of the people, and the creators, and this wonderful, wonderful people. And also, they have been doing this for almost 27 years, and they have lost a lot of members, and they have replaced. In my film, 2 of the members passed while I was producing and editing it. And actually, I was worried because I really wanted them to see themselves on the large screen. It ran in a Fat Cats Theater in Surprise for almost 3 months. And so it was just unbelievable to see that reaction from people when they come out of. It's 1 hour, but
right,
it's something I'm very proud of.
Yes, and you should be. And I think, looking at the big picture, because you do inspire me, writer, producer, actress, what pleases you the most?
Acting is my forte. It's been, and through my background, when I left Moscow Film Festival, I was the very first actress in the history of Iran to win an international award as an actor in a movie called Dead End,
right,
which is online. And it was a very artistic, different, poetic film, which that is a whole different story, whole generation of conversation because of its timing, which was produced. It was produced in 1976. It's a very objective film about the love of a young woman who falls, crazy in love with a man who's much older and stands directly in front of her window every day and watches her window. And she thinks that he's in love with her. But there's a curve in there, many, many, many curves. So it's acting is, and then second is directing. Definitely directing is my forte. I love, as an actor and my own experience, I try to get the best out of the actors, and sometimes I can be annoying, and but I'm kind, so it works out somehow. But I want them to give the best. I give them the opportunity to give their best and best and best, and it satisfies me when I see an actor just.
How many takes?
On camera, actually, sometimes my first take is the best take.
Well, that's what they say.
Yeah.
That's what Sinatra always said.
Yeah, the best take is the first take. But for theater, because you have to do preparation, I just work them so hard that they are basically perspiring before they get to that root of the character.
Right.
That's what it is. And they're a little surprised at the end because they are not sure what they did, but I know it's perfect. So hopefully that would be repeated on stage when they go that evening or the next
Films or theater, which do you prefer?
I love them both, but theater is my world. When I enter an empty theater before the production and there's nobody there, Joe, I feel I am home.
Yeah, that's what it's wonderful about you. And I was listening to an interview with Elizabeth Taylor, and she was talking about George Stevens directing her in A Place in the Sun and also for Giant, and what the difference of the two films were. And she said he would tell you what he wanted, basically, for the emotions, but that you had to create it yourself. He would say, don't look up, look down, and do this and then do that. But then he wanted the actress to interpret it in her style. And I think you're very much the same way.
Yes.
And I respect that.
I give the freedom to the actors to explore, and then I give them different types of a scenario, like what if this, what if that, what do you think about this? You want to give it a shot. That's basically, and we just go from there. Like, for instance, in Beneath the Veil, the gentleman who was with us, an incredible actor, Anthony Azizi, I basically, with him when I worked, he's terrific in every role that he did. And I gave him different combination of thoughts that what if like this, what if the background is that, what if like, the brother passed away or was executed the day before, all that, there's so much history that you just built around it and then let the talent come and
Right.
just blossom.
Right.
And also another thing that within acting, the situation in Iran is so bad these days that it's like no Iranian is really happy, or the lifestyle has changed so much. And it's not the matter that it is what's happening in Iran, but how is that has affected us as expatriates.
That's right.
Because it's like we are afraid of touching our iPhone in the morning because we are worried about seeing how many more youths were hanged to death. Innocent people who are just opposing that government. So it's like, it's a very bad timing
Right.
emotionally
Well,
for anyone that has that background.
I'm going to have you back because I want to discuss this further. I could speak to you for hours on end, but unfortunately we have to call this an end. But thank you so much for being my guest, and to be continued. Got to do part 2 and part 3.
Well, thank you, Joe, for having me. It's an honor being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.